Okay, I'm at the dressing room at the Fleet and Firkin once more, and I'm the great privilege to be joined by a band that's legends of the Bristol psychedelic and experimental, and even some of the punk scene, the mighty Here and Now. Gentlemen, I'm honoured.
Oh, the honour is mutual.
Thank you. Now, let's go back to the beginning. Here and Now have been around on and off since the mid-70s. Can you give us a potted history of how it all started, how it came together?
Okay. Well, the lineup that was to become the sort of the classic Here and Now lineup formed in 1975. We first got together at Watchfield Free Festival down near Swindon, and Keith and myself and Twink, who was the then synthesizer player, we had two or three guitarists who sort of came and went at various gigs we did, but we hadn't found the right one. And then at Watchfield, we just happened to walk past a tent that had somebody playing an amazing battery-powered guitar, and had a look in, and there was Steffi Sharpstrings. And as soon as we found him, we knew he was the one, and that completed the lineup. So yeah, we played our first gig as that lineup at Watchfield. We actually closed the whole festival up at the smallest stage. There were 5 stages at Watchfield, and we were on the smallest stage, but we had the entire festival there. It was quite amazing. Star-crossed. We had Arthur Brown came on and jammed with us for about an hour, and then Reebok, the percussionist from Traffic, came on for about 2 or 3 hours as well. We played from 10 o'clock at night through to about 4 in the morning. It was amazing.
Some of your early gigs were legendary, and you did a whole series of what now classic collector's tape albums, didn't you, around that time?
Yeah.
Must have been a very exciting time to be kind of on that kind of whole scene in the cutting edge back then, yeah?
Oh, it was very hectic, very hectic. I look back on those probably 4 or 5 years from the beginning of the Here and Now band through to touring with David Allen as Planet Gong, which you'll probably get onto later. But yeah, those sort of five years were just utterly hectic, and it all went so quickly. It was astounding, really amazing times. Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the Planet Gong stuff now. How did the Planet Gong period come about?
Well, that was by the good offices of Mike Howard, who was the bass player for Gong, the classic lineup of Gong, and who had by that time split up. And he'd been talking to David Allen, who said to him that he wanted to do a space punk project. And Mike Howlett had seen us at a place called the Tabernacle in Notting Hill Gate. And he said to David, I think I found exactly the band you need. Because it was strange, while we did form in 75, and it was very patchy, but while all the punk scene was sort of building up in 76, we were in France, but we were evolving our new approach to music. We felt it was new. We didn't know what was happening with the punk scene in London. And when we got back, it was amazing how they had sort of picked up on the same thing, or we had picked up on the same thing as them, And anyway, cut a long story short, David was sort of looking for us, and he bumped into our synthy player at the time, Twink, Paul Noble, who happened to have a cassette that we'd made in a garage, in a shed actually, in fact, not even a garage, it was a shed, it was a garden shed. And he gave it to David, and David said, got back in touch with us about 3 weeks later and said, this is perfect, this is exactly what I need, let's do it. So we did.
Yeah, I mean, it is funny because I think the bands like yourselves some of the early Gong stuff and bands like Hawkwind and that, laying the foundation for what will become punk in the 76, you know. Do you feel that as musicians of that kind of space rock era, you're maybe not kind of credited with the kind of influences you had back then?
Yes and no. I mean, you know, we did influence an awful lot of people, but it's kind of it's an intermuso thing, you know. And I kind of, it's funny, you know, because we took the Fallout on their first tour of the UK. We did a tour with ATV. We gave the Cardiacs, I don't know if you know those.
Oh, great band, Cardiacs, yeah.
Yeah, we gave them their first ever UK gigs around the country. We just used to pick up on people that we liked, who we sort of got on well with, and we would take them out on tour with us.
And also, listening to some of your, so before I came out, spent a great afternoon just listening to that 4 or 5 year albums and having a kind of relax, as I say.
Yeah.
Listening back to sort of your great albums like the title of which has just got, took me time, just slipped off it. It's got the yellowy cover with the kind of tower blocks on the front.
Oh, Give and Take.
Give and Take, that's the one.
Yeah.
You've got a kind of very disturbing sound on that. And then you contrast that with an album like Fantasy Shift, where you're experimenting with dub reggae and,
yeah.
you know, sort of like, almost like a kind of soul-y kind of feel. You know, was that kind of cross-fertilisation with people you were playing with, or...?
To an extent, it was also the result. You know, Here and Now has never really. You know, we had a stable lineup for about 4 or 5 years to begin with, but from there on out, after Keith, the original drummer, left, and the founder of Here and Now, in fact, after he left, you know, he thought the whole thing would fall apart, but lo and behold, another drummer who really fitted the bill turned up, and then Steffi left, the guitarist, and lo and behold, another guitar. And it's been, since then, it's been a sort of constant flow of various musicians who come and go, and each one of those brings their own influence. And so I kind of think it's pretty much sort of internally generated, really.
And also you were very kind of, back in the sort of 70s now, on the back of your All Over the Show album, it talks about your old ethos about not charging for gigs.
Yeah.
And all your gigs are free and you go around with a bucket at the end, yeah? Do you miss those days of a kind of more innocent top music? Because I can remember a quote from one of the band in the sort of an old Xerox fanzine called Urban Guerrilla, back in the mid-1980s, where you're saying that you just can't do that these days and make it work, you know?
That's true. You know, we finally knocked it on the head after we just played, I think it was Central London Poly, to 1,500 people, past the buckets round. We didn't use hats, we used buckets. And we got something like 40 quid from 1,500 people, and just realised that, the impetus from this movement seems to have gone. You know, everybody's now just taking it for granted. Oh, it's a free gig. Why should I give it?
Yeah, well, that was now coming through the 80s with the Thatcher and the Me generation, wasn't it?
Yeah, very much. And from there on out, we tried to keep prices down. We still do. You know, I mean, I really feel quite strongly, you know, that you can't sort of cane your fans too much. People, you know, I mean, when it comes to sort of mainstream business, rock business and music business and all that, then yes, they do, you know, and it's accepted as standard process that you milk it for all it's worth. But I've always felt, you know, it just shows no loyalty to the people who put you there in the first place. You know, so we kind of, we've always tried to sort of strike a balance.
Yeah, I've noticed, I was looking on your website, because there's some of your vinyl albums, I was thinking of investing in some of your CDs over with some of your Christmas money, and you'll keep your prices down. I don't think you're charging more than about $7.99 for a double CD.
Yeah.
A lot of them are cheaper than that, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's part of that sort of ethos. I just don't believe in ripping off fans, you know. I think it's a really bad move.
Yeah. So, you're kind of still very much an ongoing concern now. It's sort of like you're into your fourth decade of...
Yeah, fourth decade.
Yeah. Do you...
Seems like I die over 100 years.
No, I mean, and also, I was going to say is though, there's I've noticed doing the radio show, I get lots of stuff in from young bands, and there's a lot of revival and interest in stuff what they call psychedelia and stoner coming through now, where there are bands that are sounding like Black Sabbath and Hawkwind and yourselves and that, but these are young kids in their 20s. Do you kind of look upon this as maybe a new golden age for sort of like the classic underground alternative rock?
It may be. I don't know, I mean, these days things come and go, trends come and go so fast, I think the only thing that will tell will be time, whether it lasts as such or, I mean, bands like Hawkwind and ourselves have been going for all this time, it doesn't really matter to us whether it's in fashion or out of fashion, because the people who are into us anyway, and it's not really sort of fashion related. However, now that there is this fashion for it, I'm really pleased, I'm glad, because it is mind-expanding music if it's done right. And on that level, we could all do with a bit of that at the moment.
So is there any names around at the moment that's impressing you, or?
Offhand. Over to you, Andy. Drop that one on you.
There's a band called Mugstar, Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely playing that kind of crowd rock solo, sort of psychedelic groove. There's a band called Eat Lights, Become Lights, who are more electronica, but they're very psychedelic. They're a London-based band. They're really good. There's loads of bands out there. I think that what's changed is the whole market has changed now. So you can't judge things, you can't judge fashions or trends by how we did probably 10, 15, 20 years ago. The whole market has changed. CD sales have fallen off the edge, and so on. It's all kind of, everything's online. So there's lots of little niche genres going on in little towns and cities around the UK and Europe, and they don't sort of ever raise their heads above the parapet, but they carry on and they're kind of self-fertilising.
No, I mean, are you finding that, so the modern day and age with the kind of, the internet kind of way of publicising and getting your music out there, that it's really a godsend for bands from yourselves right through to 15-year-old kiddies that are playing indie rock in a school disco?
Yeah.
Yeah, how
I think it's a godsend, but I also think you shouldn't just rely on that, because I think there's a whole load of people who don't tap into necessarily networks that we assume that they might tap into. So.
Yeah.
It's nice to see, we're starting to get a whole new generation of fans coming in to see us, and that's really a shot in the arm, it's great to see, I must say. And perhaps we can influence them as well,
Well, hopefully you can. Where do Here and Now go from here? And the Now? Yeah.
Well, in London tomorrow, and Harlow in Essex the day after. But where we're aiming at the moment is we've got probably maybe 2/3 of an album just about ready to go, ready to record. So we're kind of looking at finishing, or starting it, should I say, but first of all finishing the material that we're going to use when we do it. And from there, who knows? There's supposed to be the guy. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was what was it called? The Wilco.
The Oil City Confidential film.
Yeah, Oil City Confidential.
Rings a bell.
Yeah. It was about Wilco and Dr. Feelgood.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the guy who produced that film approached me about 6 months ago, said he really wanted to do the story of Here and Now,
And that would make a damn good movie, yeah.
I mean, it's a hell of a story. It is a hell of a story.
Would you choose Clooney to play yourself, or?
Yeah. So, if that comes up, that'll be a good project to do. And basically we just want to keep moving, keep producing, keep writing, and keep playing.
Excellent. I think that's about it. I don't want to take up too much of your time when you're getting ready to go on.